Hey everybody, Tim Buckley with you, Chief Meteorologist at WFMY News 2. We are tracking some thunderstorms that have been rolling through parts of the area on this evening. Now, the radar is maybe not as quiet or maybe not as active in your area as it is otherwise, but we are seeing some scattered storms still even at this 9 o'clock hour. They're not quite done just yet. Getting some impressive pictures of some shelf clouds and other types of clouds with some of these storms moving through the foothills right now. So I wanted to give you an update. This is live, so we're looking at live radar throughout the course of this next 10 or so minutes. Now, right now, not looking at any severe thunderstorm warnings. There were some of those earlier. They've been allowed to expire. But at this point, we are still seeing at least a little bit of action on the radar. So let's get right to it. I'm going to pop the graphics full here so you can see what I'm seeing. These showers and storms, pretty impressive earlier. They've started to weaken a little bit. So start it with the wide view, and then we'll dive into some of the details a little bit. This here is kind of the regional view of our Triad area at this time. And right now what you're noticing is that there's not too much activity across the immediate Triad. So Greensboro, Winston-Salem, all pretty quiet right now. Burlington is too. But this has kind of been the hot spot over here in the foothills over the last hour to 2 hours time. This is where we've seen a cluster of thunderstorms kind of initially formed right up around Wilkesboro and Wilkes County. Then it rolled into Yadkin County, then moved its way up into Surry County. So these showers and storms packed a bit of a punch for a little while, probably has some really high winds along with some of these. And now starting to kind of fizzle out a little bit. So if we kind of pause the radar, I'll show you where it's actually going right now. This is Shoals. Here's Highway 52 just by Pilot Mountain, pretty close to Pilot Mountain. These are some downpours, of course, but it's not as impressive as it was. It's not as intense as it was overall. So generally, these things are starting to weaken a little bit right now. Now, we have gotten some impressive pictures coming in of some of these clouds. I want to take this opportunity to show you some of our weather cameras around the area, just to kind of see what's been going on. I specifically want to look at our Winston-Salem one because we're getting some reports of some really impressive clouds out that way. Doesn't look like we're looking the right direction on our Winston-Salem camera here to catch some of those. But I'm going to put these full here for a second. I'll put myself off so you can see this. But this is up in Surry County. So earlier today, it was still daylight out. They had some thunderstorms rolling into the Surry County area. That's from Beth Howard. She sent that photo to us a little bit earlier. And so when you're looking at something like this, you're seeing clouds that are advancing at a pretty quick rate of speed. A lot of times the bark is worse than the bite. So a lot of times they look worse than they actually are. But what you're looking at is cooler air that's cooled by the rain rushing out of the thunderstorm. And what you're seeing is all that condensation as part of that big push of cooler air moving out of the thunderstorm. So this is one example of that out of Surry County a little while ago. If we look at another example, this is also out in the foothills. This is a little bit more recent. Again, I'll take myself off so you get a better chance to see it. Megan snapped this photo and shared it with us. Now, this is coming to us from Yadkin County, really in the Rhonda community, in that Rhonda area. So pretty impressive views of shelf clouds this evening and something pretty impressive that you'd like to see. So not getting too much reports of wind damage or wind problems with these. The amount of power outages so far tonight has basically been in the hundreds and not in the thousands, which is, always a good sign. Usually bad thunderstorms are going to put thousands of people without power. We're not really seeing that so far with these tonight. So where do we go from here? Well, still tracking the radar a little bit for this evening, but overall I think our weather threat is starting to wind down. We had talked about for today that the weather impact threat would just be through about 9 o'clock. I think it's still worth watching things through around 10 o'clock or so, but notice as these storms are kind of moving off to the east, and they are moving, they're losing some steam. They're not gaining anything. So at this point, things are probably going to get better and probably not going to get worse overall. Now, where are the storm reports for today? There are a couple that are here in northern Iredell County. Let's check these out. So this was a little bit about an hour ago near Union Grove. That's in Iredell County. Had a couple trees down. Northwest Memorial Highway. Southern Road. So again, a couple trees down over that way. That's not a big deal or a big problem. Earlier tonight, there were big thunderstorms that had all this lightning. And I mean a lot of lightning too. Let's kind of track this over the last several hours. If you go back in time, I mean, this lightning was insane. Closer to around 5 and 5 o'clock or so. So check this out. This is earlier today. Up in the Rockingham County and Caswell County areas. You probably heard this if you were up there. You couldn't not hear it. It was one of those storms that's impossible to sleep through or impossible to ignore. But earlier today, there was just hundreds of these crawling through the area. And we have had so many different lightning storms recently around our area. And part of the reason for that is that we've had a lot of heat and a lot of humidity. Heat and humidity are really good ways to generate lightning. The whole process that lightning actually happens in the first place is kind of interesting. So part of the way that this actually goes down is, when you're making a thunderstorm and you're making a cloud, what's happening is that you actually have some particles that get separated out and they get charged. So this kind of happens through frictional forces. When you make a really, really tall thunderstorm cloud, there's going to be a freezing layer in here. And so you're going to have ice particles that start to develop. Well, when ice particles kind of rub up against each other, you're getting a lot of this, rapid motion going up, rapid motion going down in another way. And that rubbing together can help to separate the charges out within those cloud particles and in the water vapor particles. And in the ice particles is what I mean to say. So you get the charges up there in the cloud. And then just through natural, selecting out of these things, the positives end up on the top, the negatives end up on the bottom. And so that can induce a charge on the ground. And then eventually, this charge difference gets great enough that you got to kind of fix it some way. So a couple of things can happen. You can have lightning that comes out of the bottom of the cloud, just like this. This is the most common type. We know it is cloud to ground lightning, and usually it's negatively charged. But you can also have an extremely powerful bolt of lightning that's positively charged coming out of a cloud like that. This one can strike about 10 miles away from a thunderstorm. It usually only happens in the strongest of thunderstorms. But in this case, they're really, really the ones that are more dangerous because they can hit you farther away and they can actually cause more damage too. And you might not know about it because the sky where you are could be blue and not all that severe. So always a good opportunity to do a little education and talk just a little bit about lightning, why it works and why it is a threat. It certainly has been a threat in our area recently and will continue to be as we go throughout the next couple of days. So we'll keep an eye on the radar for the next couple of hours tonight, but I do think it's probably appropriate to start talking about tomorrow and seeing what that could have for us. Let's take a look at our futurecast. So this is a computer model. Whenever we show you this, it's not gospel for what will happen. It's just a guide, right? So throughout the rest of the night tonight, things are winding down pretty much by midnight and certainly by after that. Tomorrow morning, dry. Just like recently, you don't have to worry about anything in the morning or in the middle of the day all that much either. But sure enough, just like clockwork, middle of the afternoon, here's your thunderstorm starting to pop up in the foothills. We'll see that get a little closer to the Triad by dinner time, 4, 5, and 6 o'clock. And then toward the evening, drying out. So it's similar to today where you will have some scattered storms. And then on Sunday here, we're watching a different kind of a weather pattern where you could have some showers and storms dropping at us from the northwest. So both days this weekend have opportunities for storms popping up in our area. So first off would be tomorrow. We have a good threat of some scattered storms out there for the afternoon and for the evening. But Sunday also has that opportunity and it has that risk for us. So let's kind of be mindful of both of those days, and that's kind of where we'll be. It's been a pretty night in Greensboro, I'll tell you. The weather's been fine. Hasn't really rained here pretty much all day, which is nice to see, a good little break. It's been a pretty nice night in Burlington too, but just kind of keep an eye on things. We never know exactly where these storms are going to pop up, and if you get caught off guard, well, that is never a fun feeling. So be safe as best you can as we go through the weekend. Couple of tips for you. Keep the News 2 app ready to go. Interactive radar is really helpful. I check it once an hour on these summertime afternoons. If you see tall clouds building and getting dark, probably a good time to kind of call it at the pool or at the lake. And if you ever hear that thunder, you're close enough to get struck by lightning. So be careful, be safe. We'll see you again at 10 o'clock.